Hello, and welcome back to our podcast, Flower Farming in New Zealand, where we dig into the detail of growing beautiful blooms here in Aotearoa. I'm your host, Jo Robinson, a flower farmer, a flower lover, and a creator of floral works. I'm keen to encourage the growing, buying, selling, and the use of our gorgeous local and seasonal flowers. This season, the podcast is brought to you by United Flower Growers, or as it's known in the trade, UFG. Talk to UFG today about buying or selling your flowers through their organisation. Today, my guest is Michele Coomey of Michele Coomey Florals. Michele is an event florist who travels the length of the country to supply exquisite florals for weddings and events. Welcome, Michele. It's fantastic to have you here on the podcast today.
Hey, thanks, Jo. I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
So, can you share how you first got into floristry and what led you to focus on high-end weddings and events?
Yes, sure. So I guess my floral career started in 1997, so quite a little while ago. I was 25. I had a small child. I was a single mum, and I was looking for something new to do. Had always been interested in the arts or something creative, and I also was just looking for a creative outlet, but probably a little bit of a career pathway as well. Being young, I didn't really have much experience in lots of, the working experience. I think hospitality was about working in pubs, working in restaurants, that sort of thing. Yeah, so I did a polytech course in Mount Maunganui. That's where the floristry school was at the time.
Yes.
And it was run by Interflora. So it was very
Stylised.
Well, it was very traditional. This is the way we do this. But actually, in all fairness, it was a very good course because we didn't only cover learning to make flowers. We also learnt about growing a florist's garden. So we had to do our own plan, like a landscape plan at this florist garden. We also had to learn calligraphy skills. We learnt business skills. So it was actually a really good course. And I just don't think they do them like that anymore.
No, you're so
It's
right.
very copy and paste the way people are taught these days. So that gave us a real understanding of the relationship between the flowers and the garden and where they come from. We had to learn all the botanical names. Not that I remember all of them now. As well as sort of just delving into the past, the traditions, future. So actually it was a very well-rounded course.
And I love the thought that they added running a business or the business side into it as well, because otherwise you're less useful to somebody when you go into a retail outlet or into your own business if you haven't thought about the business side of what you're doing.
Absolutely. It's the business side of floristry is crucial. Everybody you talk to thinks you must be so creative, like the creativity comes second. The practicality is number one. Anyway, so I finished that course and my daughter and I moved back to Auckland, where I'm actually from, and I started working in a retail store. And I was there for about 3 years, and then I was given the opportunity to buy into the store, which was great. I did that, and I was there for 18 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
18 years of retail floristry. That's
18 years of retail floristry. So yes, I've had my fill of dealing with the general public. As most retail florists will tell you, can be frustrating at times. And it was really good because I had my family, had 2 more children. It was a good support whilst, like a regular income while I was bringing up the kids. But about 10 years ago, I decided that I actually had enough of retail and I sold my share. And I started working in the events and weddings side of things. Yeah, and haven't looked back, really.
That's an amazing career pathway, and you should be so proud of that, because that's 3 significant things. You did the training, you did the retail floristry for 18 years, and now you've done event floristry for 10 years. So I think your halo is glowing from my end. I don't know about for you, but I think that's an amazing career pathway. So hat off to you. Having gone through all of that, What
Mm.
actually inspires your floral design style?
I think style is something that changes throughout your career path or career. For me, what's really important is drawing on like place, the feel of something, and translating that with the use of flowers to create the florals, to create the space and create the mood and create the drama. Just for example, somebody's getting married in a vineyard, but then they really want it to look like a Tuscan countryside. You draw on, what you find in books and movies you've seen on television, and you pick a little bit of this and pick a little bit of that and mix it all up to create your version of a Tuscan countryside.
So your style is fluid depending on the event.
Absolutely.
I think that comes from your years and years of experience in floristry. You can interpret what your customer wants, and you can use your flower skills to create the impression that they're looking for.
Yeah, and it does come with experience. It's very intuitive for some people. Like they may step into floristry and 2 years down the track, they've got this wonderful vision and they can really hone in and execute that. For me, I think I've got that, but it also helps having all those years of experience. It's just easier.
I think it's, in a way, it's being more attuned to what your customer wants rather than saying, this is how I'm going to do it, which is a big difference.
It's a little bit of both in a way.
Yeah.
I try not to give my customer too much creative license.
That's what retail floristry taught you. You see, that's the difference.
Yeah. I certainly listen to what they want to create, and they always supply images and inspiration, what they like. And I try and interpret what they like, but bundle it up into a package that looks how Michele Coomey Floral does flowers.
Very cool. Love that.
Yeah.
If you were buying flowers for your retail outlet, would you do it differently from how you buy for an event or a wedding?
Yes, absolutely. So the design and buying is sort of go hand in hand. The design I start thinking about the design sometimes a year ahead of the event, because I'm researching, I'm finding images and references to the kind of style that I want to create. And so I can show the client, this is what I'm trying to do for you. And then when the next stage is planning that with my suppliers. Sometimes we talk about growing things in advance for a particular event. So if we're planning something in the winter, I know that a grower could potentially do something for us that's happening in March, or add it to their planting plan. That sometimes works, sometimes doesn't, all depends on the weather.
Yes, you're talking to a flower farmer here. I quite understand that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the sort of 2 weeks before an event where you're figuring out how you're going to get the flowers to the location and how many you need in different areas, allocations, all that sort of stuff. Yeah.
So I know there's not really any such thing as a typical event, but as you prepare for an event, do you sort of break it down into how many arrangements or placements you'll have, and then do you work out how much prep time you need and how many staff you need? Do you have a system that helps guide you to the end?
Yeah, I have a loose system.
Yeah. Yeah, because they're not the same.
Which, only because I know nothing's set in stone and that things change and you need to be really fluid in this job. You can't rely on things coming through. You always have to have a bit of a backup. But yes, so my loose system does include logistics, admin, staffing, volume of flowers. I generally try and take the wedding as a whole, and that's how I work out my costings. I don't go each individual table arrangement should cost this much. And the reason I do that is because sometimes you arrive at a venue and something's happened with the styling and it's not quite right. There's less candles than you thought there was going to be, and you need to add more flowers to make the table look fuller. So I always like to have a little bit of something up my sleeve so that if things need changing on the day, you can do that.
Yeah. That's adaptability, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like you say, you're thinking of the overall impression for your customers. And if it slightly changes, are they actually going to notice on the day? You hope not.
Yeah, and that's, all about just trusting your intuition, and trusting your skill base, because you're the person with the skill, and it's you that has to produce this piece of work, and trust yourself, because you're probably right.
Your creativity comes to the fore when you make that decision.
But in saying that, you've got to make sure that you're really, really, really secure with your logistics as well. You really have to make sure that the mechanics, the timings, all those things are set in stone. Everything else can be a little bit more fluid.
So I know that a lot of your customers are going towards the high-end floristry line.
Mm.
What do your couples or event planners expect from you when they're investing in wedding flowers? Are they expecting, I don't know, to be taken step by step through all the process? Or do they just want to think, I've got Michele Coomey doing my florals, I'm just leaving it up to Michele. Here's her quote. I'm happy with that.
Yes, some do and some don't. And I'm happy either way. Generally, I have like 1 or 2 meetings with my clients, sometimes with a planner, sometimes without. Like I said before, I produce a mood board or a visual as well as a quote, because I think it's important for people to just get a general understanding of what everything's going to look like.
Absolutely.
I'm not a big fan of doing these little Canva cutout things that everybody seems to be doing these days, with a bar and then a plonk of flowers on top, which is a cutout of something else.
Oh, okay.
I'm just not a fan of it, because I think I want people to be able to use their imagination, and I want people to think it's going to look like that. I want people to think, well, it might look similar to that, but it's got that feel, so it's really airy and light, and that's what I'm going to be expecting on the day, rather than it's going to be this.
Yeah. I love that, because that gives you more scope to change anything if you need to change something.
less restrictions. Yeah, for
And
sure.
it's more your style
Yeah.
as well. Yeah.
And it also leaves space for me to, like sometimes you might be driving down a road and you see a whole stand of like wild fennel that's growing, and you go, oh my God, that'll be amazing. I can add that to there, because that's the final ingredient that's going to make everything look amazing. If you're limited and restricted to these images, it makes it very hard to add that extra creative flair to your work.
And also your customer, if you've got an image as distinct as you described, your customer may not have a creative bone in their body. And as you say, they will see that, and then that's what they'll expect, which is hard. That's really hard.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
I mean, I think it's quite nice to be able to, and I always do this in my visual as well, is add words. So I describe how I think things should look, and leave that up to interpretation of the client, or the client to interpret it. Because, like, I think it's important to be able to describe your work. Yeah.
That's a lovely thought. So how do you approach designing for a wedding? Is your creativity, you said it's sometimes driven by the place, but do you take into account the couple's story? Do you get told that, or are you flying blind and just going with the event space, or are you going with the season, or is there something else that drives your creativity?
Yeah, sometimes I don't even meet the couple. So a lot of the weddings I do in Queenstown, there are a lot of people that fly in and fly out.
Yes.
They come in from Australia, or they come in from further afield, and they're there just for 5 days. Sometimes they're only there for the weekend with all their guests, and they like to deal with just one person. So they deal with the planner, and so my point of contact would be a planner or a stylist in that case. So I don't really get the opportunity to hear their story. I think when I meet people, you can pick up what their vibe is just by chatting to them. And that's really important to me. I get a better understanding. I can see what they're wearing or how they do their hair, and I can kind of interpret that she's a very straight-laced person. She's definitely not going to go for anything too wild. Or this person, or they're quite chill, they're quite relaxed couple. They'd probably be happy if I did such and such.
Even the colours that they're wearing, it tells you a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does tell you a lot.
Yeah.
But for me, it's quite good to meet, and I haven't met a person in person for about 5 years. It's all via Zoom.
Yeah. Yep. Technology
Yep.
is incredibly helpful. Do you have a favorite large scale floral installation that you've created? And if you have, what made that one memorable?
Any of the large scale installations that we do that end up looking like what I've got in my head is a
That's a win.
success. It's a win. Yeah.
I
So
love that.
I
Yeah.
always have an idea in my head of what it's going to look like. But then when you've got people working for you, everybody's got their own idea of how things should look. So it's actually really interesting when you have a team of florists working together on something large. Somebody's working on that side might look completely different to what you're working on that side. So you also have to try and design the florals in a way that it's not going to look like two different arrangements because they're done by two different people.
Yeah. That's a skill I've never had to learn, and that's actually a really interesting point, isn't it? And I suppose that's where your creativity can shine, because you can add or
Yeah.
detract from what's been created and make it flow. So it just
Yeah.
looks like a Michele Coomey floral rather than
Yeah.
Florist A and Florist B are working for Michele.
Yeah. I have a core team. So the people that work on the weddings with me, I've worked with for a really long time. Like I've known them for a really long time. In fact, two of them have actually used to work for me in the florist shop. So
Wow.
I've known them for like ever, and they all bring their own like really good skills to the table that I don't have. One Anita, who I work with, she is a whiz at doing all the buttonholes and anything to do with fine wiring. I just can't do that anymore. So it's your job. You're on that. And it's just really nice and fun to work with people who that you've known for a long time, but also understand your aesthetic. And even though what they do might be slightly different to what you had in mind, it's still overall is going to work in with your aesthetic.
That's fantastic. So something I think all florists will want to know: how on earth do you balance your creativity with the couple's budgets and expectations? How do you do that?
Well, I mean, it's always really hard to understand people's expectations. And I guess the only way you can establish that is with a budget.
Yes, good
You
point.
can say, yeah, you can.
Do you ask them what their budget is to start with?
Sometimes most people don't really want to divulge what their budget
Yes.
is because they're probably thinking, well, I've got this to this, but obviously if I only need to spend this, I'm only going to spend this.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's not really how I work. I talk really about what they want, what they want the event to look like, how abundant they want it to look. I usually suggest, to create something with a bit of interest everywhere. We have like 3 or 4 main focal areas, and that's where we put most of the money. Sometimes we can adjust the budget in a way like ceremony flowers could be repurposed and used somewhere else afterwards, that kind of thing.
I love that word that you use, though, abundant, because to me, abundant actually defines quite a bit of your work, because the floristry...
Thank you, because that's exactly what I would like my work to be seen as, abundant.
In my mind, I've got an image of the blue hydrangea installation that you did, and
Yes.
that was abundant. It was
Yes.
absolutely stunning. But the
Yes.
other image that I have in my mind, and I've got to ask you how you did this, there's a wedding on your Instagram, which is obviously in a cityscape skyline. And I would say you're on the deck of a quite tall building. I don't know what city you're in or anything else. But the planting or the greenery in that image is just stunning. Was that bring things in, or was that an existing venue that you could make the most of what was there?
Yeah, well, that's always a really great trick, is borrow what's there, borrow the view kind of situation. That was a already planted rooftop garden outside a restaurant, and we simply came in with more fresh product, like all the limelight hydrangeas, all the roses, all the lisianthus, everything that we could bunch together to make look en masse. But we didn't actually have to use
Place it.
that much because there was already a bit of height with the existing trees and a bit of bush as well.
It is. It's a stunning shot.
Yeah.
The greenery and the height. It
Yeah.
just says lush abundance.
Yeah.
And they're in the middle of the city. It's
Yeah.
on a rooftop.
And also, I just really want people, when they get their photos back and they see themselves like that image in amongst the flowers, and it's so dreamy and it's so like otherworldly and it feels international. And I want people to feel like their wedding was really cool. It was really international. It could be London, it could be New York, anywhere in the world.
So their day means as much as it possibly can to them. And you've achieved that. That makes it very, very special. Let's take a moment to hear from our sponsors. Season 2 of this podcast is proudly sponsored by UFG, New Zealand's largest flower wholesaler. While UFG is best known for its in-house auctions in Auckland, Wellington and Christchurch, it operates other platforms to ensure growers connect with the right buyers and buyers with the best flowers. Listen to our sponsors episode of the podcast and check out the UFG website to learn about the innovative remote online flower auctioning system and the virtual wholesale platform. And if you need another option, there are 4 on-site wholesale outlets based in Auckland, Wellington, Christchurch and Invercargill. UFG, connecting growers with the right buyers and buyers with the best flowers. Hey petals, and just like that, we're back into today's conversation. Have you ever had the situation where your customer has not been happy with what you've done, and how do you cope with that?
Yes, a couple of times, and I'm still not over it.
Here's a virtual hug coming your way, Michele. Oh dear.
Honestly, it's heartbreaking because you do put so much heart into your work, and you do, I feel I do more than a lot of florists who are just, it's just a financial transaction for them. For me, I feel like arrangement really needs something like this. So I'll do everything in my power to try and find that thing, whether it's spending an hour trimming the side of the road or whatever. So I feel like I actually put so much effort and heart into the work that I do, and it's so upsetting when people hate it. It's only happened twice actually. And yes, I'm not over it.
But can you move on, or does it really stifle your creativity? Do you become nervous? Yeah.
No, you have to move on. It does make you a little bit nervous. You learn to recognize the client that potentially is the red flag, and you will recognize them after a while. And you just know that actually this client needs micromanaging. They need to know everything, every step along the way. And you just do that for that client because you know that there could be a problem.
That's a lot of extra work for you though. But as you say, if you give them the support and give them the information, in the end, they should be happy, and that removes the thought or the angst about whether they're going to be smiling on the day or unhappy.
I think the problem with these particular clients is that they're trying too hard. They don't really know what they want, but they really want to be noticed.
I was going to call them Instagram clients. Is that?
It is kind of a little bit like that, yeah.
Okay.
The reason I still haven't let it go is because I actually think, well, that's also a little bit sad, like that they haven't been able to actually fully even enjoy their wedding day because they're so worried about the look.
How it looks. Yeah.
And what other people are going to think about it.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think it's not what it should be about, but if that's what your client is about, you can't change that. You just have to adapt your process to make it less stressful for you to achieve what they want.
For most people, it's fine. Yeah.
And that's what you want. That's what you want. Do you try and include seasonal flowers in your work? Is product seasonality important to you?
Actually, seasonality is important to me because it's also, again, touches on that place and time. So it's if you get married in spring or bluebells time, when the bluebells are out, every time the bluebells come out, every year you're going to remember, my God, it's our wedding anniversary and remember your special day. So seasonality is important to me that way, but it's not always possible. And it's not always possible to have the volume of flowers supplied to you that you need from the local market, and you have to get them imported.
That's part of your creativity process and your business brain just clicking in. you know what you want to achieve. And if you can't get it there with local flowers, that's totally your call, isn't it? You have to
Yeah.
create that vision for your
Yeah.
customers.
Yeah.
Do you try and create relationships with local growers so they can support you and grow for you?
Yes, I love keeping being in contact all year round with local growers. I just love having that relationship. I've tried the whole growing things for you on a couple of weddings, but didn't actually work out. So I just decided, well, if you can't get it, you can't get it. But if it's available, it's available. C'est la vie. Life goes on. You just have to find something else. So, yeah, that part of that growing things for me doesn't work, but keeping in contact regularly with the growers is amazing. We used to have, and I don't know if we still do have this little growers market. It disappeared at the end of last season, and I'm not sure if it's coming back. So that was always a great opportunity to see everybody on a weekly basis.
Yeah. And apart from anything else, if they're not growing it, they may know somebody else who is. So the connections win in lots of cases like that, don't
Yes.
they? Yeah.
Yes. And also when I'm planning my weddings, I really like to have my core stuff ordered with one wholesaler that I use regularly. The option to buy on the market at the auction, which I also do regularly. And then also all the pretty, lovely things, the extras, the icing on the top from the local growers' farms. Yeah.
That makes so much sense.
Mm.
Yeah. You've got to have the scope of what's on the auction floor and what's in the wholesalers so that you know you've got your core basics, because you
Yes.
cannot be without those.
No.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're buying from, I don't know whether it's 2 or 3 wholesalers or whatever, but that's, from a business point of view, that's easier than buying from 30 flower farmers. So it just creates your workflow.
Also, some farmers, they only sell like mixed buckets. And
Okay.
then you never really know, the stem length or what you're going to get. And it's just, you can't rely on that sort of supply. We can rely on things like, at the moment, the tulips obviously are coming in. And if you need tulips for an event, I know of half a dozen or 2 or 3 really good growers around Auckland that have the tulips on the bowl. And I could go and buy, if I needed 1,000 stems, I could get 1,000 stems, no problem. But,
Yeah.
but some times of the year, you just can't get anything, so you can't rely on it.
Do you find that there are particular types or colours of flowers that are always in demand for weddings? No matter what the fashion is, there's always some staples that you need for weddings.
Garden roses.
As in David Austin type roses.
Anything that's like a garden rose, especially if it's got long straps, really tall, arching, billowing, anything with movement.
Yeah. That's
You'll
really
always have
interesting.
a buyer for garden
Yeah.
roses.
Yeah. Which is cool. And more people are growing them. Give us a little bit of an insight. Is there something that couples are asking for now that may surprise growers?
It's a bit of a funny time with flowers at the moment, the style. So it's kind of a little bit like in the 90s. Everything was all one en masse, one type of flower, and sculptural, like the calla lily, which is huge this season. It's having a big, big, big glow up, but I want to blow it up. I love them, but I also am very, very much reminded of all the bouquets that we had to do in the 90s of calla lilies. No, and going back, the style is very sculptural. So you've got things with like a mass of calla lilies that might be bent over, or a big mound of depetaled sunflowers, or a big mound of hydrangeas. So that's kind of the way the style is going now.
In my mind, I'm thinking Laura Leong, florist, and she has all of the branches that she curves around the colours to come back. So at least it makes them look less like bulky. Yeah, I find the whole colour thing quite interesting. And when I interviewed Lizzie from one of the wholesalers, she said that's what people are asking for now is colour lilies.
There's not enough calla lilies that are growing in New Zealand. All the calla lilies that came in were from Colombia or somewhere.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because there used to be quite a few exporters of colours here
There
for
were.
years. When we
Yeah.
were first exporting peonies, there was a big colour growing society, and they were huge on the export markets.
And they are
I see
still exported, but obviously there's just not as many.
being
And that's
grown.
another thing with the New Zealand local market is a lot of the growers have retired, like the commercial growers have retired. So our supply is really low. The markets, the auction houses, there's been a whole lot of changes there, which are not really helpful to small businesses or wedding florists. It's really geared for the giant supermarkets, giant wholesalers. That's what it's geared for now. So you don't really get a lot of variety. It's quite boring. Lots of lilies, lots of roses, lots of carnations, not carnations, chrysanthemums, but not much of anything else. Yeah.
That's a sad indictment, but if that's how it comes across, then that's how it is. So have you noticed some quite distinct changes in the colour palettes and the styles for this next wedding season?
Well, for me, I always try and make each wedding different. So I don't really go with a trend. Definitely all those dark, moody colours have come back in again, like the burgundies and the deep olive greens, the browns. They're quite a moody tones, I guess. But there's still a lot of white and green weddings. People can't get away from that. You just have to try and present them in a different way every time, which is really hard.
It is really hard, isn't it? And I understand why brides who aren't particularly creative themselves, why they go for that, because it's quite simple to build on that and they can focus on something they do understand. I find it a little bit sad if it's only white and green. I do struggle with that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what advice would you give to couples who were planning a high-end or luxury wedding who wanted standout florals? How would you sell them an idea of yours?
Well, to be honest, I think that kind of floristry works really hand in hand with amazing styling. And so if you've got a really good stylist or planner, your flowers, and you work closely with them and you work well with them and you have a good relationship and you understand each other, then you're going to have a standout event because styling and the flowers really, really, really work together. So I would say don't rush into one particular style. The linen, what's the cloth that's on your table? There's the plates, the glassware, the lighting, the draping. That all works hand in hand with the floristry. They complement each other, and they should complement each other.
Yes.
And then you're going to have a beautiful event.
What advice then would you give to a flower farmer or flower growers who would like to be able to sell their flowers to a wedding or event florist?
I think, like I said, for me, the flowers from the farm are more like the icing on the cake. Like they're the finishing touches, the really pretty things that you add to your arrangements.
Those things with movement, like your...
Things with movement.
Yeah.
That might have a little bit of a wildness, that might have an interesting shape, might have a great, like a seed head. For me, what I've struggled to find is items like ornamental grasses, which are great to have in floristry. Something that's with like big seed heads or, and I know it's quite hard to grow in New Zealand, but things like allium, I think you need a really dry and cold climate for that.
Not looking at Central Otago in particular or anything, of course, but there you go.
Well, they did have, and she did grow alliums a long time ago. There's a grower who I buy Eramuris from every year, and she
from Bannockburn.
Bannockburn, yes, and she used to export all of those flowers to New York, but she do that now. But she used to grow allium as well. But something like that would be amazing. Really unusual flowers, things that you wouldn't see every day. I think that would be.
I had I've got to tell you this because it'll make you laugh. I had a florist that wanted allium seed heads towards the end of last year, and I had a whole lot of leeks that had gone to seed. Good old garden leeks.
Yes.
They were brilliant, and they
Yes.
stood up in the floristry. They were just so... They didn't
Yep.
have the colour of the huge alliums that you can get in the States, but Egmont Seed are now bringing in some allium seed, which I don't think they're the huge Globemaster type ones, because they
Yeah.
carry a disease that they won't let them import them into New Zealand because of the threat to the onion industry.
The onion flower is a cool alternative, except the stink smell.
The chives definitely smell. The leeks weren't bad at all.
They
I
weren't
didn't
too
think,
bad.
no, but
Okay.
chives definitely, yeah. That's and garlic flowers, although they look like an allium flower head, the smell of them's
yes.
too much.
So the garlic. I don't know what they call them. They're very popular. And I haven't been able to see any in New Zealand, and would be great to have them. They're like wonky garlic.
They're the scapes, called scapes.
Yes.
Yeah. So you're looking for scapes, and you
Yes.
should be able to buy them if you know what to call them. You should be able to get them. They're easy
Garlic
enough
scapes.
to.
The other thing which I really love using is like berry foliage.
Yes.
Canes of berry foliage. I also would be amazing to get more clematis in New Zealand.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know anyone who's doing clematis. I use a lot of red currant and black currant foliage as well as raspberries.
It's lovely.
That's
so
fantastic.
lovely to use. And it's actually really hardy.
Yes, incredibly
Very
hardy. And you can use it when it's in flower, when it's got berries on it, or once you've picked. So it's a two for crop.
It's lovely. Yeah. And that's the other thing, like using berries is also, like nice to have.
I do remember seeing a photo of one of Florette's creations, and she'd used cherry tomatoes. That was a step too far for me. I couldn't manage to work out how that one... I could just imagine what your hands would look like at the end of working with cherry tomatoes. They'd be absolutely covered in sticky yellow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just the way tomatoes are. But
but nice to get a whole strap of tomato vines and have them like running along the table as well.
Okay. See, there's your creativity. That's why you're the florist. Yep. Do you have a dream venue or a dream client that you'd love to design for?
Yeah, I always used to think, I'd love to be able to do something in Europe, all those beautiful old buildings and like all the access to all the beautiful flowers that you can get over there. But, I actually decided recently that no, I'm really happy working in New Zealand, working in the venues and because the venues that we have here, because every season I come across something new, someplace new that's opened up, or it's private properties, or, like you end up putting a marquee overlooking the sea somewhere in a remote location that you wouldn't know about.
That coastal vibe.
Yeah, but anywhere, even in Queenstown, every time I go to Queenstown, I at some location that I've never been to before, and it's really quite amazing. Last year we went to Fiji and we did a big wedding on a private island over there.
Yeah, just casually, you just popped over to Fiji. Yeah,
and honestly, it was more of a nightmare than a pleasure, because just the admin to get flowers, because I had to import the flowers into Fiji from New Zealand, and it ended up just being the cost that the budget was half the budget was eaten up just with the admin. The freight, the transport, all those sort of things that I guess if you weren't aware that those costs might be there, you wouldn't think about it.
Ouch.
So even for a very wealthy person, no one's going to pay, people from New Zealand are not going to pay the big, big, big bucks to bring flowers over from New Zealand to Fiji that's needed to create an opulent and high-end luxury wedding.
That's a pretty amazing thing to have ticked off your list. I have done international floristry.
Yeah, it actually was, and it was interesting. I mean, we know how to do it now, but it was it was really, really interesting.
It would totally depend the country that you were working in, because, as you say, if you were in Europe, you'd have none of those issues. You could walk down the street and buy
Absolutely, yeah, none of those issues, yeah. And, Fiji's biosecurity is stricter than New Zealand. And also, I didn't really feel that comfortable with the fact that we were importing, because it was winter, so there's no flowers really except for cymbidiums. So I was importing flowers from overseas to New Zealand and then exporting them to Fiji. There was a lot of miles
Paperwork.
covered for that wedding, and it just didn't feel right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you've done it. It's, yeah.
But it's ticked off. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. A couple of questions that I ask everybody.
Mm.
What's your absolute favorite flower and why?
Can't ask a florist that.
I ask everyone, so you have to come up with. No one's ever been able to give me one flower. I will say, you don't feel bad about that.
No. Well, each flower is special at different times of the year. I think there's something special for everyone. Yeah, I mean, I love bluebells. Love like finding a forest full of bluebells. Like that to me is bliss. Or just some sort of like shy and unassuming flower that doesn't show off. Just kind of there, just doing its own thing.
Does its job.
Does its job.
Do you have any exciting sort of floral experiments or amazing venues or design innovations in the pipeline?
Nothing huge. I'm looking at doing some workshops for growers and florists in the future. I was very lucky to attend an amazing workshop in London in May this year with some of my floral heroes. So this humid house from Singapore, Emily Thompson Flowers from New York, Shane Connolly from the UK, Frida Kim and Wagner from the UK as well. They were all working together on installations for the Chelsea Flower Show. They decided that they would put on a workshop at that time, and I was considering going to the UK because I wanted to go and have a look at the Chelsea Flower Show. It's been on my bucket list forever. And then I found out they were doing this workshop. So I thought, okay, well, I'm definitely going. I'm going to go along to that. And it's always so inspiring to see how other people work. I've got a lot of years of floristry behind me, but I'm always learning something from everybody. Every year I learn something new. And we did some really cool exercises on this workshop, which I'd love to be able to share with other people. So that's kind of a little bit of a plan ahead. Being able to share and impart the knowledge that you've gained over the years and from other people. It's all part of growing our floral community. It's important to do that. It's important that we continue to support each other because, you know, with the way the world is going, the cost of living, the cost of flowers, it's easy to go, oh, it's just too hard, you know? It's too hard. Yeah.
I love the idea that you're going to do workshops.
I think workshops are a really great opportunity to explore different techniques, just to be able to experiment with different material. It's not really about learning how to make a structure because you can learn that on the internet. It's more about being with people, taking knowledge from other people that are also attending, a shared experience, understanding the material that you're working with, all those things.
And as you say, it's about the community that you've connected with who are doing the same thing. It's a lovely circle of life and learning and flowers all in that one thing.
The floral community, worldwide floral community, is actually not that big.
No, it's not.
The degrees of separation are small. They really are. Yeah.
They're tiny, aren't they? Absolutely tiny. I've got to backtrack a little bit to when you said you went to Chelsea as well as the workshop. What did you enjoy more, Chelsea or the workshop?
Oh, the workshop.
More personal?
Yeah, more personal. Going and visiting Chelsea was a bucket list thing. I really wanted to go and see the show. I wasn't like disappointed, but I did actually think that we used to have the Ellerslie Flower Show. I think it wasn't that much better than the Ellerslie Flower Show, except for they had all these different varieties, a lot more growers, a lot more producers of plants.
Yeah. I think it's just become so expensive for people to exhibit there that now I think a lot of the slightly smaller organisations or florists go to, I think it's Hampton Court is just a couple of weeks later, and I think
Strawberry Hill House.
Is
Strawberry Hill House?
I don't
I think
remember exactly.
That's also a big one. And also the Garden Museum, they also do a florist's, a British Flowers Week kind of thing.
I do love that idea of having British Flowers Week and how they're taking that whole flowers from the farm and British flowers and how it's growing in strength.
As if we had something like that here.
We did used to. It did exist, but a lot of those things have gone by the by as the admin for them becomes so time consuming, and people can't donate that amount of their time, and who's going to come up with the money to run them? It's a chicken egg situation that I don't think a country as small as New Zealand will get over. But maybe we can work more with our Australian counterparts to have a Australasian Flower Week or something that we could do. It would be lovely to achieve that.
I would.
Final question for you, and you can go with anywhere and you want with your brain on this one. How do you see your business evolving over the next couple of years?
Every year I say, I'm done.
Do you say that in the middle of winter before you get wedding orders?
I say, I'm done. I don't think I can do it. It's too much. My body's broken and I'm not getting any younger. And so that's what I say to myself every year. And everyone goes, oh, yeah, you say that every year. But, going forward, I probably will do less weddings per season than I'm doing now, just because, honestly, it does physically kill you. And I try to do as much as I can to prep for a season. But, the older you get, the harder it is. And I'm just not willing, or it doesn't work for me to have staff. Like I prefer everything to just be me, and I work with contract staff when needed because it's just a lot more efficient. It keeps me financially sustainable, and I don't think I could do it any other way. But so probably going forward in my business, I'll be doing what I'm doing for a couple more years, and then I will reflect and see how things are going.
Those workshops are sounding better and better. But
maybe.
If you do the workshops, you can cut down on the number of weddings you have to do. It's your business brain thinking it through. What's going to be better for you psychologically, physically, financially, and you come to a decision. And that's perfect. It has to work for you.
Yes, exactly. And I think everybody kind of knows when they're done. I'm not done yet. I do still have a lot of things, lots of ideas up my sleeve, and I still do really love working on the weddings. I love the process. I love starting from nothing and having this amazing event,
creating an abundance of blooms.
And to see something come together from nothing is really great.
Michele, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. I am in awe of your floristry. I think that some of your installations that I've seen are just a dream, but it's been a pleasure talking to you, and do keep in touch about your workshops so I can let our listeners know when they can get in touch with you.
Great. Thank you. It's been lovely chatting.
Until next time, petals, smile, be happy. Please follow along this season, as with the support of UFG, we can bring you flower farming in New Zealand. UFG, New Zealand's largest flower broker. Talk to them today about buying and selling your flowers.